Why are 63% of men aged 18 to 29 still single? Our forefathers got married in their 20s and they had children by the time they hit 25. Yet there's an epidemic of single men in today's world. In fact, we might be the first generation of men who are not getting married, not being intimate, and not having children. I mean, this is a question seriously worth considering. Now, you might have heard of the standard fare of women, feminism, COVID, porn, the pandemic lockdowns, whatever it is. But I'm going to shift my attention towards something much more significant than that. I think it's very useful in life to have the framework of taking absolute responsibility to everything that happens to you. Even if your girl cheats on you, it's worth asking, where did I go wrong and why is this my fault? Because when you ask yourself the right question, it actually leads to powerful results. Asking the right question changes the paradigm in which we see the world, and the ultimate question we should be asking today is, what can I do in my power to make sure I am an all-attracting force in the world? So in this video, I have 4 principles I would like to share, not only addressing why men are single in this world, but actually flip the script like Alex Hormozy would say, invert what the question is and get the opposite effects to have an abundance of women to choose from, but much rather actualize yourself in the process. The first thing that you need to realize is that men are lonely and have sold their souls to comfort. What do I mean by this? Well, according to the Daily Mail, Fred Robinowitz, a professor at the University of Redlands that studies masculinity, suggests that young men aged 18 to 29 have grown accustomed to social isolation created by the pandemic lockdowns, and there are more young men than ever watching porn and consuming social media. So men are essentially getting all their needs met by sitting at home and busting a fat one. Comfort is the #1 ingredient that destroys a man's drive, and without a man's drive, there is no motivation to pursuing women. One of the best lines from my favorite show, Peaky Blinders, was from Linda Shelby when she said, "Keep his balls empty and his belly full." I truly believe that this one line represents most young men because it's never been easier to empty your balls and keep your belly full in the modern world we live in today. A true animal hunts when they're hungry. We men are no longer hungry for woman, money, ambition, and purpose. All of these things have been rejected by the daily comforts in our own homes. We have domesticated ourselves in comfort, indulging in processed junk food, lowering our testosterone, living in the virtual world of video games, and worst of it all, we'd rather spend a night with 3 porn stars than 1 real girl on a date in the real world. But I need to remind you all, even though there's no shame in being a weak man coming from weak times, there is a shame in remaining one. So I have a question for you. Are you going to remain weak, or are you actually going to do something about it? If you have zero motivation to do anything about this, then you seriously need to consider what I have to say next, because I think this is one of the single best solutions that an average guy can do. If you're looking at your life right now and you see that there's not much responsibilities or commitments going on, find something to commit to that has an inner meaning for yourself. The best commitment that a man can jump into right now is a physical challenge, a physical commitment, something that you're passionate about that you can put consistent effort towards. I genuinely believe that 2 of the best commitments a man can make is either the gym or an athlete of some sort. If you are passionate about a sport or leveling up in the gym, then consider it making it your #1 priority and optimizing your entire life around it, because it will seriously bring so much structure in your life to make you an all-attracting force in the world. Instead of leveling up in the virtual world, you can level up in the gym, which I genuinely believe will solve 90% of your problems. Especially with women, I want you to visualize a guy right now who has committed over 2 years in the gym. How do you picture that guy? How does he look like? Is he better than the average guy? Bro, the average male has titties, for God's sake. Of course that guy's gonna be above average. If you just optimize going to the gym 3 to 5 days a week, I promise you 90% of your problems with women will be solved, since the foundation of responsibility, commitment, and structure are all found in the gym. The second thing you need to realize is that young men have lost traditional male role models to look up to. Feminine women are attracted to masculine men who take care of themselves and are disciplined in their own masculinity. Most single guys I know are undisciplined when it comes to their own inner masculinity. And one of the biggest reasons why we're lacking discipline is due to the lack of male role models in the world today. Some of the most disciplined people I know are either religious, have a respectable philosophy that they have their foundation into, or they have their values and principles coming from a father or a strong masculine male role model in their life. So this framework that's always worked for our survival has been passed down from generation to generation. This is the first generation of young men that are not being passed down male gender roles that is pushed by society. According to the Daily Mail, there's actually been a rise to the end of these traditional male role models. And you see it every day when the media is pushing other agendas like diversity and everyone being equal, and that there's no shame for a man to be weak or show emotion. But has this really helped us in the long run? I mean, why are 63% of us still single? Many of you might say it's a choice, many of you might blame it on women, but regardless, we need to seriously consider the long-lasting effects it might have on our population if this continues to grow. Who do you look up to? Who are your role models? If you're in a tough situation, do you ask yourself what this person would do, what blank would do? If you don't have that person in mind, I would seriously consider a philosophy like Stoicism because they have such great traditional role models from over 2,000 years ago who have paved the road of success for male role models. You have people such as Marcus Aurelius, Seneca the Younger, Epictetus, Cato, Musonius Rufus. All of these philosophers share a masculine foundation of courage, justice, temperance, and wisdom. I truly believe that Stoicism is the most ideal philosophy for most young men out there, especially if you're not able to find a connection to your own religion. But honestly, the lack of traditional role models isn't entirely your fault. You see, according to single parent statistics, about 86% of single parent families are led by moms in the US. About 19 million out of 22 million children under 18 are living with a single mom as opposed to 3 million living with a single dad. The fact that 19 million children under 18 lack a masculine role model or just a man role model in their life scares the hell out of me, because it shows that there's a lack of male role models in our new generation's lives. Not only that, but on top of that, postmodernism has played a significant role in losing traditional male role models. You see, before postmodernism, we used to have more purpose and one thing to rely on. Now with the rise of internet, we've been engaging in a war of ideas that leave people confused and clueless to what to believe in anymore. The paradox of choice describes when there's too many options, it creates more friction for you to just pick something and ends up overwhelming you. Back in the day when you had religion or a philosophy that you grew up on, that was your world and nothing could crumble the foundation of that world since it was built on strong pillars of traditional masculinity. Because we have lost most of these role models through postmodernism, we don't know what to believe in anymore. And you know what happens when we lose belief in something? We end up losing ourselves in the process and become the weak, lonely man that the world sees us in. It's our job as men to believe in something that gives us inherent purpose for living. Without purpose, without these role models, we fall into the depressive episodes of who we truly are behind closed doors and succumb to the garbage scumbags we really are being single. The third idea I had for today is that women are being more selective than ever before. Ronald Levant, a psychology professor at the University of Akron who has written extensively on masculinity, suggested that the trend of lonelier young men ultimately comes from women being more selective about whom they date. Did you know that women under 30 have closed the average wage gap between them and men in 22 different areas? Women under 30 are not only making more than men now, but they are choosing to seek men that are making higher wages than they are, while also completely cutting ties with men that don't meet their standards. What does this mean for all of us? Well, the only thing that I can truly say is instead of complaining about women choosing other men, you need to start leveling your finances up. And I'm telling you, refuse to be broke, bro. Whatever you do, get 2-3 jobs and grind it out until you can save enough money to invest in yourself. From age 18 to 25, I've always worked at least 2-3 jobs. One job that would put money in my bank and one job that would put money in my pocket. During my college days, I used to work in a hotel, and on the weekends I used to do a delivery driving for a pizzeria. And then even on top of that, I used to work as a breakfast server to make extra cash for myself, so I refused to be broke. It was only until the age of 25 last year in April where I went down to one job part-time. But my entire life, I've always had at least 2-3 jobs. Always refuse to be broke and do whatever you can to put yourself in a better position to be an all-attracting force to the best possible girl out there. The single best advice I have for single men age 18 to 25 for finances is to save 50% of all your income, and when you hit age 25, start to invest all your money into yourself, courses, skills, coaching programs that will level you up to increase your earning capacity to make more from 25 to 40. So basically, instead of investing in the S&P 500, invest in the S&U 500. In the long run, the best investment you can make is in yourself, and the best investment looking back at my life was every time I put money towards something that I needed to learn for a skill that would earn me back in dividends in the future. Imagine if all of you did this. Do you know how valuable your self-worth would be? You would 10x your value in the dating market. I guarantee you it would be impossible for you to be single by that time. Remember to take accountability in your finances, and I promise you, women will actually select you. So stop complaining about women being more selective and be the man they choose instead. The last idea I have to share with you today is that men have become more feminine and women have become more masculine. The sexual polarity is way out of order in today's world. Have you noticed a trend in society trying to make men and women equal in gender roles? Have you noticed that there are more feminine men and more masculine girls than ever before? From my personal experience, my own mother and the woman in my family are extremely masculine figures in their own households. Not only this, but I work in hotels and I have done over hundreds and hundreds of weddings. And you know what's a common thing I see? The groom tends to be more feminine than the woman and vice versa. The most successful relationships out there are polarized, which means one person tends to be very masculine and the other person tends to be very feminine. Even lesbians know this inherently, and you tend to see the couple, one of them being more masculine than the other. So what do you think would happen if society tried to make both men and women equal in polarity? Exactly. Even when I was reading The Way of the Superior Man, David Deida mentions how the best relationships in the world have their own strong sense of opposite polarities. He says that the false neutralization or depolarization of relationships is one of the main reasons that couples break up. How many men and women do you think have become depolarized in the society we live in today? I can tell you right now, from my 5-year relationship, every time me and my girl would get into an argument, it was because I was being too feminine one day or she was being too masculine another day. Personally, in my relationship, I feel I'm loved the most when my girl is embracing her full feminine essence in her. There's absolutely nothing better than me hearing my girl laugh, be soft, giggly, cute, and just nice with me. That kind of affection is what truly makes me feel loved and secured in that relationship. The last thing I want is for her to take any unnecessary stress on top of what she's already going through, and now we're both putting the pants in the relationship and just butting heads. It never ends up working out like that. This is why it is absolutely crucial for us men to embrace our inner masculinity to attract the polar opposite of the female essence. It's actually very important for you to increase your testosterone, get in really good shape, grow a beard, have a deep voice, have courage, bravery, discipline, and temperance in your emotions, because that is what's embracing your inner masculinity, bro. The last thing a girl needs is for us to be more feminine than her. And I promise you, if you just lift weights 3 to 5 times a week, have traditional male role models to look up to, level up in your finance and status, and stop selling your soul to comfort, you will only be single by choice, because you now hold yourself to a high degree of standards that makes girls want to join your team. Be a D1 draft pick instead of chasing all these scouts around the world, because it is much easier to attract girls by being a good catch yourself. I hope you found this video helpful. If you enjoyed this, please hit that like button, subscribe to my channel for weekly content on masculinity, relationships, and philosophy. Until next time, guys.